Okay, so you've sent in some housing market data, and we want to kind of dive into what all this actually means for you. Forget the headlines. Let's get down to like what it means for you personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've brought in a pretty good snapshot of the market. We've got month supply of inventory sitting at 5.86, a pretty significant 12-month change in that inventory at 135.34% increase. Median days on market is 43 days. Sold to list price percentage 98.1%, and then a median sold price of $220,000. A lot to unpack there.
Yeah, so let's start with that. Month's supply of inventory, 5.86. What does that mean for someone just trying to like understand this number?
Okay, so think of it this way. If no new homes were listed for sale, it would take about 6 months to sell every single home that's on the market right now at the current pace of sales. That's what that 5.86 number is really telling us.
Okay, and then that huge jump in inventory. We're talking 135.34% increase in the last 12 months. That's a big change. What does that tell us about where things are headed?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting here is just the magnitude of that increase. That clearly signals a pretty significant shift from where we were a year ago. There are simply a lot more homes on the market now. So what that means for you as a potential buyer is you probably have more choices now than you would have had a year ago, potentially more negotiating power as well.
Okay, but here's the thing that seems kind of interesting to me. Even with all those extra houses on the market, the median days on market is still just 43. So it's not like these homes are just sitting around forever. How do we make sense of that?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That relatively quick sale time, even with the higher inventory, suggests that, while buyers do have more to choose from, homes that are priced appropriately are still in demand and they're selling pretty quickly. Sellers who are being realistic about their pricing are still seeing relatively fast transactions.
And that kind of leads into that sold to list price percentage, 98.1%. I
Yeah,
mean, houses are selling for basically what people are asking, right?
exactly. Yeah, that's a very high percentage. It tells us that sellers are most likely pricing their homes competitively. Maybe they're recognizing that there's more inventory out there, and then buyers, they seem willing to pay close to asking price for the homes they want. So it points to a market where I think both sides are kind of being pretty realistic in their expectations.
Okay, and then we have that median sold price, $220,000. Um, what does that tell us about just the general like affordability in this market?
Yeah, that number gives you a general idea of the price range, in this specific market. It's a data point that helps both buyers and sellers understand kind of where property values are generally landing.
So when we take all these pieces, we've got a lot more homes available, but they're still selling pretty quickly and pretty close to what people are asking.
Hmm.
Uh, we've got that median price point as a benchmark. What does this all mean? Like, what's the big picture here?
Well, if you kind of zoom out and look at this in the context of everything else that's going on, it really looks like the market is kind of finding a new balance. Buyers have more choices now because of that increase in inventory. And then at the same time, sellers can still do well if they price their homes strategically. Because, like we said, the data is showing that homes that are priced well are still moving relatively quickly and close to their list price.
So the takeaway here is that this is a market that seems to be offering more opportunities, but also some things to really think about, whether you're thinking about buying or selling.
Yeah, and I think this raises a big question for everyone listening. What's the best way to approach this market right now, given how much inventory has changed and how fast homes are still selling? What's the smartest strategy for you, whether you're thinking about buying a place or putting your property on the market?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah,
I think we'll leave it there for now.
sounds good.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.